Oh, I'll turn this off. Sorry, I can't hear everybody. Okay. Here's a story I heard from one of my teachers. And the story goes like this. Once there was a king, a great, powerful, awesome king. And he went out hunting. This king loved to hunt. He went out hunting, and they saw this fox, and the king ran off after the fox on his horse. The king was an excellent, what do they call it, an equestrian horse rider. And he jumped over this, and the fox was trying to get away from the king, is shooting bows or whatever he's shooting with his gun. Anyway, finally, whether he get the fox or not, but suddenly the king realizes that somehow he ran so quickly, he drove his horse, rode so quickly, and through the thickets and through this, that he lost his whole entourage that they were with him. And so what does the king do when he loses his entourage? As he has this horn, he pulls out the horn and he sounds the horn. Toot, toot. And he sounds the horn. No reply. He listens and listens. Maybe they're sounding their horns. He lost track. Maybe he was running after this fox for maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. He doesn't know, but obviously he had separated from his group. And not only that, was he far away in place, but he was far away in time also, and it was starting to get late. And the sun was starting to set, and he realized that he was in big trouble. And not only that, he started to realize that he was far away from his crowd. If he sounded this trumpet enough, it could be that maybe unfriendly people would hear him. Maybe lions, maybe bears, maybe who knows what. And it was cold. It started to get cold outside. It was in the middle of the winter. King had a heavy jacket, a heavy coat on, but he wasn't prepared for nighttime conditions. So it started to get dark, and he didn't know what to do. The king didn't know what to do, and he started to get afraid. The kings have a lot of enemies, and there's in a forest, sometimes there's robbers, and there's who knows. So the king doesn't know exactly what to do. So he rides with his horse a little bit, and then eventually he sees this little sort of light in the distance. So he ties his horse a good distance away, and he takes his royal coat and he turns it inside out, puts it on, and leaves his crown or whatever it is, and any signs that he's the king, puts them in these saddlebags of the horse, puts the horse in a place where it's sort of hidden in the horse. And he approaches this house. He looks, and maybe it's a house where there's robbers, maybe. So he looks in the window. He sees there's this old Jewish guy sitting there with his wife. Must be a wood chopper. The guy lives in this. He's probably gotten old. Maybe when he used to be young, he used to live here. And now so anyway, the king realizes that he's really, really cold. And he's really much more tired than he thought he was. And starting to shake, his whole body. So he goes to the door, knocks on the door. And the Jew inside says, listen, if you're robbers, I haven't got anything in my house. If you want, I'll throw you some food out the window. Leave me and my wife alone. He says, no, I lost my way. The king says, I lost my way, please. Doesn't say it's the king. The Jew opens up the door, and the king falls in. He takes him and he pulls him over to the stove where he could warm up, and he brings him a little cup of vodka, and he brings him some hot soup. And he's really, really tired. And his wife brings him some straw or something, puts it over in the corner, and he lays down and goes to sleep after the ordeal. In the morning, the king wakes up, and he says to the Jew, well, I'm really thankful to you. You really saved my life. Here, I want to give you a coin. He said, no, I don't need any money. Thank God I have what I need here. I was a wood chopper for many, many years, and I have money saved up, a little bit, enough for me and for my wife. Thank you very much. I would appreciate it if you would give the money to someone who needs it. Give it money to needy people because they, you sure you don't want any money? No, I don't want. I just did it because I like to help people, and you gave me a big opportunity here in the forest. When do I have? So the king is really impressed, and he goes back out, and he gets his horse, and he gets reoriented, and he travels back to the palace. After 3 or 4 days, a royal carriage rolls up in front of this old abandoned house, not abandoned house, I'm sorry, this old, how do you say, the soul house. It's the only house in the whole forest. A huge royal carriage with like 4 amazingly beautiful horses. And there come a couple of soldiers are accompanying this thing. And there comes out from the carriage, there comes out this very important minister. He knocks on the door, and the Jew opens up the door. Oh, what's this? What? He said, "You are Mr. Grois." I said, yeah, that's my name. I said, "We have an order from the king. The king wants you to appear in his palace." He said, "Listen, you got a mistake. There's not, the king wouldn't want a person like." He says, "You're Grois, right?" He says, "Yeah, you live in there's no neighbors. You got to know no neighbors. There's no other Groises here. There's nobody here. This is you. The king wants you." Okay, the king wants me. Listen, you can't refuse the king. He said, "Get dressed up nice." And comes, so he gets dressed up nice. His wife makes him a couple of sandwiches. And he says, "Listen, just can you wait for me for a little bit?" He davens. And he goes, "How long am I going to be there by the king? Should I take my talis and tefillin?" He says, "I don't know what you're talking about. You'll be there for an hour or something like that, and then we'll bring you back." Okay, good. So he gets dressed up nice, for his Shabbos garments, and he goes in the carriage. And they drive in the carriage. They drive for like an hour, who knows how long. They drive, and they go through the palace gates open up, and he gets out of the carriage. And they take him into the door, chamber within chamber within chamber, until finally he's in the main chamber. There's the king sitting up on his throne, Ram V'Nisa, high and exalted. And the king says to him, he says, "Your Majesty," he says, "Mr. Grois, you don't know me, but I know you." He said, "Yes, Your Majesty." Yes. "How does Your Majesty know me?" He said, "I've sent messengers around looking for somebody that's honest. It's not hard to find an honest man these days. And my messengers that I sent out, they all came back and they said that you're the most honest person they found." I said, "Well, Your Majesty, I'm very grateful. I don't know." He said, "Listen, I want you to be my advisor, one of my advisors. The conditions are wonderful. You get free housing. You can bring your wife here. Free housing. You get paid $1,000 a day. All you have to do is be available 15 minutes every week. And also, whenever I happen to want to call you, I'll call you. And except for that, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want to." I said, "Well, this is amazing, Your Majesty. I'm so grateful. He said, oh, there's just one thing." He said, "You have to change your religion." "What?" He says, "You have to change your religion. It's not nice a Jew here. We're all Catholics here. And, it's not nice that there should be a Jew. I mean, in your house, you can do whatever you want. When you're in your house, you can do your prayers, you can do whatever. But when you're here, you have to, bow down with us, and you have to do with us, and you have to, change your religion. And that's it. And then you get these tremendous benefits. I forgot to tell you, you and your wife and your family for all generations. You get free housing, no taxes." He says, "Listen, Your Majesty, I'm really, really grateful to you. You have no idea. I mean, a simple person like me, I'm just overwhelmed. But I have to turn down the offer because I'm a Jew. I was born a Jew, and I'll die a Jew. I can't." All of a sudden, in 1 second, the whole complexion of the king changes. The king leans forward, and his eyes get narrow. He leans forward on his throne. He said, "What do you mean you refuse? What do you think? I'm your friend? You can refuse. You cannot. I'm your king. You can't refuse what I say. Or you change your religion right now and receive all these benefits, or," claps his hands, all of a sudden comes out from nowhere, these 6 huge guys. One of them brings out a piece of wood, a big block of wood, puts it on the floor. 2 hold on one hand, the other hand. One holds on to one leg, the other leg. The one who blocked the wood holds on to this Jew, puts his head on the block, right? takes this rope, ties it around, and pulls his head. And another one comes on and brings this big sword, and he flips it around. He's holding it over. He said, now listen, Mr. Gross, I mean business. Either you change your religion and receive all of these benefits, you and your family, you'll be rich, you'll be famous, you'll have comfort, you'll have everything that you want for the rest of your life, you and all of your generations, or I chop your head off. You lose your head. Says, Your Majesty, I was born a Jew, I will die a Jew. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The king gives the sign to the executioner. The executioner, though, he takes the sword and he turns it so on the side. And he hits this Jew on his neck. Not hard, but hard enough so that he felt he was hit. The Jew passes out. From fear, he passes out. After about 5 minutes, the Jew opens up his eyes. He's on the floor on this mat. The fit of the king says, wake up. He brought his doctors over there. Are you okay, Mr. Gross? Are you okay? He said, yes, I'm okay. What's going on? What happened? He said, no, I just wanted to see, He said, I don't understand, Your Majesty. I mean, Your Majesty had to make this trick on me. Why? I don't understand. The king said, tell me, do you recognize me? I said, I don't know, Your Majesty. I'm just so confused. I don't understand. I don't recognize you. So you sure you don't recognize him? He said, I don't think so. He says, look, I want to show you something. He takes off his crown. The whole crowd goes, the king took off his crown. The king gets off, takes his coat off, turns it inside out, puts it on. So, whoa, you were in my house a few days ago. That was you. The king said, yes. I said, well, then why did you do this thing to me? Why did you say you're going to cut off my head and you didn't? The king said, I want to tell you. He says, sit down. They bring him something to drink, water. He said, first of all, I'm going to give you a big reward. And everything that I said I'm going to give you, it's up. You don't have to change your religion. He said, when I was young, I was a little boy. So my father used to let me wander around in the castle grounds. And he encouraged me to talk to the different people. So I talked to them. They were simple people, nice people. He said, but there was one person, a tailor. He was a Jew. And I used to really enjoy talking to him. And especially to his children. And I used to sometimes sit in their house. And I used to see how he would educate his children. He would talk to them and how they honored their parents and how they respected them and how the parents loved the children. So it was something I didn't really see. He said, but then one day I heard the father telling the children about Abraham, the first Jew, the founder of the Judaism. And he said, Abraham, he said he was the founder of the Jews. Why? Because he was willing to risk his life for God. He got thrown in a furnace. And he didn't leave Judaism. The highest, greatest thing for a Jew is to do what's called making God's name holy. Kiddush Hashem. Kiddush Hashem, giving your life for Hashem, is the highest thing that a Jew could possibly do. And that pleases Hashem more than anything else. I was very interested. This man does not talk about going to heaven, going to hell. That's our whole religion, is heaven. He's talking about pleasing God. And the most pleasing thing to God is that if a person is willing even to give his life for God. I thought, that's what you Jews believe. This is really amazing. So after you did all this wonderful thing, you saved my life in the forest. You say, I wanted to reward you, and you didn't want to accept any. Suddenly I came back to the palace. I remembered the story. I thought, this is the biggest reward for a Jew. The biggest reward for a Jew is that he gives his life for God. I said, but I couldn't kill you. I mean, I love you. You saved my life. I can't kill you. So I figured, I know what I'll do. I'll arrange this whole thing that you'll be willing to give your life for your Judaism, but I won't really take your life. And that's why I made this whole thing, so that you would get this biggest reward, that you're willing to give your life for your God, but nevertheless, you'll still be in this world. And that's really the essence of Judaism, that we're willing to give everything for the Creator, to please the Creator, but the Creator is willing to give everything so that we'll be here and that we'll be happy. Have a good day, everyone. 3 o'clock. be with us together. Okay, 3 o'clock. See you all. We'll learn Chumash. Shalom. Have a good day.